to everyone who's watching. Today I'm going to talk about my math big project and what I did for quarter 4. And I'm also going to talk about like the things I learned and the process and all that stuff, like surveys and websites I used for this 4th quarter's big project and its standards, and how I was able to apply it like in my studies, real life, and this big project. Guys, let's get started. So this is my big project for quarter 4, and it's called My Mission on Probability. Yes, and my name is Jazz, and I'm currently learning in the high school math 2 with Mr. Freddy. So I'm gonna explain what I did for this project and through its contents. So there are introduction, methods, results, discussions, and conclusions, and references. So briefly, in this document, I'm going to show you the process, methods, discussion, and standards that prove I'm able to learn and understand the standards that have been taught this year. And it will be related to probability and the math of prediction, using the information gained and arranged in a certain way to be understood and explained. Yes. So, yes, High School Math 2 with Mr. Freddy. So these will be like about probability, surveys, tables, charts, and standards. Yes, introduction. My title, or the hypothesis of my project, is called People who travel to 3 or more countries most likely speak better English, because that's what I was always curious about and I have to find out in this project. So this is my background information about the survey and how I did it. So briefly, I used the website called surveymonkey.com, which made a survey or a questionnaire sent to high school students grade 9 to 12 to answer 3 main questions, which were the key to answer my big project's goals and make me able to understand this quarter's standards and use it well. And this was to prove how traveling gives you more experience in the main language or English, which makes people speak better English by communicating with foreigners. So these are my research questions. The first one is asking about the gender, if you were male or female. The second one is, have you been to 3 or more countries? And third is, do you speak English well? Or you could say like on the level of being able to communicate with foreigners and speaking with them, using it like in your daily travels. So this is my hypothesis. And what I think is that I think most people speak better English after traveling to 3 or more countries than people who don't travel to 3 or more countries, or like 3 or lesser countries. So this is my selecting variables. My explanatory variable is the gender category, male and female, and my response is if that person has been to 3 or more countries and is able to speak well. And this is the factors that need to be controlled, which is the population or the sample size. I chose was high school students grade 9 to 12, and I think this needs to be controlled because like as a high school student, I know that older students, which is us, I chose the older students because I am quite sure that they have more freedom than elementary and middle school students, because like older students tend to travel more and have more freedom, and their parents like let them do whatever they want more and like make them experience more due to their age and maturity. Yes, and these are my methods. My population was 100 randomly selected high school students from high school or grades 9 to 12. And the subjects were chosen by their grades and ages because, as I said, older students tend to have more experience and travel more than younger students. And I collected data by using the SurveyMonkey sent to 100 random students, and they were custom made to be able to answer this big project and prove my hypotheses. So, as I said, I used SurveyMonkey to get my data, and the 3 questions that I sent them were multiple choice, which is, are you male or female? So you just answer you are male or female, and there is, have you ever traveled to 3 or more countries, which is a yes or a no, and do you speak English well, yes or no. Then one of my statistical methods I used were the rules of probability and how I'm gonna use them. I used this rule right here to determine that whether they are independent or not independent. So these are the results from are you male or female. So I asked 100 people, but for some reason one of them skipped. Yes. And do you speak English well? Still 100. No one skipped on this one. And have you ever been to 3 or more countries? And then I summarized them in a frequency table or a two-way table. Yeah. And I went through each survey and summarized them, and it turns out that there are a total of 71 yeses for students who have been to 3 or more countries, and a total of 29 no's for that question. And 62 of them were females, and 37 of them were male, and with a total of 99. And this is to find the independency. And this is my other frequency table used for male and female, whether they speak English well or not. And it turns out that 71 people spoke as yes, and 29 people voted no. And 63 females and 37 males make up 100 in total. And in my discussion and conclusion, I explained that so according to the statistics of my survey, it is shown that most students tend to speak better English after traveling to 3 or more countries than students who don't. And like I've said, the selection of my sample space has also affected the results due to the age and maturity of the students in high school grades 9 to 12. Because again, students in high school tend to have more freedom and trust to their parents than younger students, which give them access to traveling to more countries and than younger students. And another evidence, and it shows that most students clicked on yes. In a total of 71 students have clicked yes, as they have traveled to 3 or more countries, which proves my hypothesis well. And for the conclusion, I can say that my hypothesis was accepted because the results and statistical records show that my survey and chart proved that it was correct, and more students spoke better English after traveling to 3 or more countries because of their interaction with foreign people in English. So in SCP-1, I learned how to put information in a Venn diagram. So for example, in a class of 40 students, 10 play tennis, 20 play netball, and 8 play neither of these sports. So first, I took the total amount, which is 40, and minus with 8, which is the neither, which equals to the 30 of a total of 32 students who are actually playing the sport, and then replace the missing number of students with X, like the number of students who play tennis minus X, and the number of students who play netball minus with X. Then when you solve the X's, then when you add them together, you will equal to the number of X, which will give you the result of the number of students who both play tennis and netball in the middle, and the number of students who only play tennis, and the number of students who only play netball. Yes, at SCP 2 and 3, I learned about the conditional probability and finding out if they're independent using the formulas and stuff. And when I get the answer, if the answer is like close or equal to each other, that means they are not independent, because the statistical answers are close to each other. And I can use this to prove the independency of my projects in the future, to guarantee that my project is either independent or not independent. So in SCP-4, I have to construct a two-way frequency tables of data with two categories associated with the same object being classified. So in here, I took an example from the test, which it gives me a certain amount of information, which is the total of number of 937 students have interviewed. 937 is the total number, and 47 of them have at least one household member who smokes. So to get the information, you have to take the 47% in decimal, which is 0.47, and multiply with 937. Then you will get the actual number of students who have at least one household member who smokes. And then the next thing says 23% of the total have asthma and do not have someone who smokes. And so then you take 23 in decimals, which is 0.23, and multiply with 937, and you will get the total number of students who have asthma but do not have someone who smokes, which is do not and have asthma. So you get this. And 68% of students don't have asthma, and you do the same for the rest. And when you get all the information, if you imagine it, there will still be missing numbers. So with the number of students you have gained, you just like add or multiply those numbers to fill in the missing blanks. So in SCP-5 and 6, I learned using the probabilityness, that's what I call it, to find out the probability of two things. So here an example: if a male physician is randomly chosen, what is the probability that the physician is aged under 65? So in here, I took the probability of male and under 65. So this is male and under 65, and over the total of males. So it's asking about the male physician and what the probability of it if the physician is aged under 65. So it has a probability of 90.2%. Next is SCP-7. In this standard, I am to apply the additional rule to interpret the answer in the terms of model, which is quite the same thing but using this model to answer. Next is SCP-8, which is using the general multiplication rule to interpret the answer in terms of the model, which is this. Getting the percentage and stuff. And in SCP-9, this is actually really important to my everyday learning and my future, which is permutations and combinations. So I can use these standards to tell the difference between combination and permutation and using them correctly to solve the problems I want. And in the future, I can use them to calculate the numbers of or outcomes of large groups. So if I have a selection of a certain amount of things, and if I want to put them in groups and in selections of groups, then I can determine by using permutation or combination to find it. So here, how many groups of 5 songs can be chosen from a list of 35 songs? Using the formula NCR, which is combinations, I can find the groups of 5 songs that can be chosen from a list of 35 songs, which is 324,632 groups. And this one is permutation. The question says there are 9 golf balls numbered from 1 to 9. 3 golf balls are randomly selected without replacement to form a 3-digit number. And how many 3-digit numbers can be formed? By using the permutation equation, I can find it in the calculator if you want. And it is said that 504 can be formed. Moving on to the standard SMD6 and 7. This one is to find for me, I think it's to find the break even and used to find the fair price. And here you will be given a chart or a table with numbers, and you have to find the value and probability of it. And then you take the value and probability, but then the probability comes in percentage, and you have to convert it to decimals and multiply them with the value, and then take the answers and then add them together, and you will get the break even. But if you're doing a business and you want to earn profit, break even is not enough for you to earn profit, or you can say break even is to pay back what you have done but not earn any money. So you gotta make your answer or break even higher to earn money, because they can gain profit with it. And these are the references: SurveyMonkey, Facebook, and Edmodo.